January 16, Spitsbergen 4, post-expedition and reflections.
Yeah.
Back in Luton, now the task was to finish the map. My work method was hardly that of a drawing office. I used to remove one of the slidable surfaces of the table, and I had acquired for earlier work a sheet of glass with smoothed edges, and I used to put a table light on the floor so that the light shone through the glass and through the paper on which I was drawing. I finished the contours where I had redone them on the last expedition.
Yeah.
And then I turned to the flat area in the south of the island,
This is yes.
working from the aerial photographs, a mass of ponds, streams, indentations on the coast. It was really extremely difficult, and my resolve faded. Atkinson, understandably, was impatient and became pressing, ever more pressing, for me to finish the work. Our relationship, as you would expect, had evolved over the years from larky schoolboys, thick as thieves. We developed as adults as we grew up, and the admiration that I had for the bold self-confidence waned, and his dismissive attitude to people he regarded as fools or interfered with his plans was increasingly grating.
Good gracious.
Nonetheless, we preserved a perfectly amicable working relationship. The personality traits of Atkinson, as I've just said, rather firmed up. I think I've said before, he had a rather secretive manner, very much a lone wolf. At school, he had no little coterie of pals. He had no following. He's buttoned up and focused. His manner, despite his character strengths, was that of a shy person. He found it difficult to hold eye contact.
Oh.
He gave him a rather sly manner. My mother didn't like him. She never said so, but I could see that was so, and regarded him as a bad influence, and in a sense he was. I mean, I took from him more confidence and boldness and more reassertive as a person.
Interesting.
As another important factor is that between Expeditions 2 and Expedition 3 there was effectively a 2-year gap, and between our first expedition and the last one 4 years had elapsed, which is a lot of growing up time for people in there between 20 and 23, 24. However, my enthusiasm for the PCA 3, the expedition, was undimmed. And all the organizations, as I've described, proceeded. On the expeditions themselves, I did not resent Atkinson's assumption of leadership. He was the Fons et Origo of the 3 ventures, because of the scientific basis of the expedition. He was the leader. I was perfectly content to supply the support, the stores, paraffin, carrying the paraffin, the primers, the cooking, and all these sort of practical aspects. And I believe myself to be a more practical person than he was, though, clearly he was not unpractical. Possibly my scouting was the reason, or my particular abilities, but I was always fixing this and that. And however, as the expeditions progressed, I began to look forward to release. If you like, I had expedition fatigue. The second expedition, which was hard in the sense that the amount of work required and movement and so on was hard, but it was fun. It was good adventuring. The third expedition, as I mentioned in my last piece, was of a quite different character. It was the fun promised by having the boats turned out not to be so much fun, and the expedition was more serious. There was Atkinson's illness, and putting out to sea in the boat became a worry rather than a fun thing to do. And the labour of hauling the boat around and the stores, the boxes packed with stones and so forth, well, it was just less enjoyable, less fun, and I, as I mentioned, began to look forward to it ending. We used to talk about overwintering, spending the winter there, to get the full polar experience, the darkness and so forth. And this talk persisted to the end, but as far as I was concerned, it was make-believe. We even left some stores behind, but I had by then absolutely no intention of returning. Did Atkinson? I don't know. But in later years, I expect he did return, because one of the few references to him that I heard was that he was referred to as the Spitsbergen stratigrapher, and presumably was working for oil companies looking for places to carry out test drills. So he may well have returned to Prince Charles Foreland. Who knows?
So no, well, you're retired type.
So returning to the map, as I laboured over it with waning enthusiasm, with waning commitment, I was busy also trying to find a job for myself, and also courting Madge. I used to go up to Cambridge at the odd weekend to see her.